This conference will now be recorded.
You want to do roll call?
Member Greenfield? Here. Member Rhodes?
Here.
Member Cooper?
Here.
Chairman Page Glass?
Here.
Member Dawson?
Here.
And who is the
Chuck.
second?
Is that
Chuck
on,
and Joel.
Joel and Chuck.
is that on the website?
Okay.
Do you all have access to the agenda? Are you all able to see it, including?
Well,
I'm sorry.
I cheated. I got the one off the table if anybody needs it.
I got one. I have that one.
But
One
the
here.
agenda packets, are you able to access them?
Well, that's what, yeah, last
If you
week.
click on it, yes.
Yeah, if you click on it, it works.
There's just not a downloadable agenda. You have to go to the online agenda.
Yeah, we're seeing that. We're used to that.
Oh, so this is for, so if you look, that's.
No, I did go to the third, neither one are in the downloadable.
Oh, I see. Okay, so you can continue.
Whenever you're ready.
Accept a motion for the approval of the agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as is.
I'll second. Take it, you can be Brian on me.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes from last meeting?
She did print them out and put them on your
Yeah.
guys' desks in case you needed them.
Yeah.
Thank you, Christie.
I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve the minutes of May 9th, 2023. No, I'm June 13th.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Commissioner and staff reports. Crystal. You have anything that went to you since then?
No, the last meeting, of course, was, we had to cancel because we didn't have any items. The only item we had didn't go with the rest of the paperwork. So, did you have any questions for me on any of the last few items you recall? So when the 918 West Monroe variance was taken to commission, I think that one was approved.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 810 was, or no, it was not approved. And the 810 West Avenue G, the non-conforming, was approved. So yeah, the 918 West Monroe did not make it through commission, they denied it.
That was the carport in the front of the house.
Yes, that was the one that was wanted to build it.
Mhm.
Yes. And I'm working with him on different areas we could place that in, so he's still working on constructing it within the requirements.
Mhm.
Yeah, because he's one that's up around.
Yeah, and then 810 West Avenue G was approved for the non-conforming on that. Any other questions for me?
And you have anything? Okay, you're voting non-action items. Crystal.
All right, so our first slide. So we have a request for a mobile home placement, but is out of Colonial Estates. The block's highlighted. He owns those blocks. He wants to place a mobile home back there. But there is no emergency vehicle access because all there is an alley access to that property. The property is basically landlocked except for the 20-foot alley easement. We are not supposed to approve an alley easement for emergency vehicle access to a home.
He doesn't have any between that.
The land above him, that 60-foot part right there above him to the north is actually privately owned. It's not a public easement.
And even up on between these houses,
It's just a 20-foot alley.
What's the one by, where block 8 and 9 are? Is that just?
So that is also a 20-foot alley at the back.
Did you get landlocked?
Well, because when they approved subdivision, they didn't make them put in a road on that north end of it, and they should have. They should have never
Yeah.
been an approved subdivision like this. Drawn out like this, they should have never approved it.
You said is that out past,
That's 17 that you can see there on the very far side of the street.
okay.
So that's north of course, Jackson and Jefferson, then you have Harrison on, so it's, and then it's west of 17.
It's still in city limits.
Yeah, that is actually the city limit line runs right at the north edge of that property.
The top of that map, is that north, is that Van Buren, or is that, where's Van Buren on that?
So Van Buren would be just to the south of this.
South of that area?
Yep.
Okay.
So I don't know what we can do to help with this issue. The only thing I have suggested to the owner, and I don't know if you have a better suggestion, is that he asks to purchase an area in lot 14 coming off of Harrison to make a right-of-way large enough to have emergency vehicles.
So as long as the emergency vehicles can get to a corner of his property, that's satisfactory, or does he need to have?
Yeah, but then
access
he
to
would
all-
have to have a driveway and a turnaround. But actually, we don't have to have a turnaround if it's within 150 foot of a main street. So if he just had a driveway up in there.
So like if he got 14 and made a wide enough road up that way, he'd be okay.
Yes. But that would be, I mean, to me, that was the only possible solution, was to either go from 14 or 9 and ask to buy a portion of their properties for.
A 20-foot easement, you couldn't turn a fire truck.
No,
You gotta have at least
we have to have at least, our city code says we have to have 60-foot right of ways. We have approved some subdivisions with 50-foot right of ways.
What does he have to buy? Lot 14?
14 or 9.
14 or 9, so he could make a right of way from Harrison to his property. Because there's not, in city code, we have to have a minimum of a 50-foot, and it's required 60, but we have previously approved 50-foot right of ways for emergency vehicles.
Because it's Harrison is the Blacktop Road, right?
No, Harrison is not, that is another discussion item. It is not even a complete G. It is just dirt.
So how do we qualify? I mean, it'd kind of be silly to make him buy 14 and there's not paved road to that.
Well, because that's what we're gonna work.
Oh, okay.
This is leading up to.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will.
Well, could we interject it in there?
Yes, you will have,
Okay, tonight, our proposal,
if you want to introduce, say your name. and-
my name is Sam Pagano, I'm the owner of the land for lots right over here in Harrison. This is Harrison right here. Well, our proposal was that we get some kind of easement road, dirt road, collision road, as long as it's approved for emergency vehicles, which is, I think, the purpose of that. Once we get in there, I spoke to those people that are up above, and said they could probably purchase a lot of permits around that and make that easement a lot easier. Coming up here. Coming up to here.
That's what I said, you say, if you could get like,
And there's possibilities here, there's several people that have property up there that we cannot use because prior, surveys, approval for whatever, they deadlocked all that area, right? It's surrounded by alleys. You know, how that happened is not important. What can we do to fix that? Help these people get a home, you know? And, right, as I understand, we would be able to actually construct this a cohesive farm road type thing, and they would qualify for an easement. And of course, we would have to do some of our, own way of doing the turnaround, whatever is required. And, we were willing to, you know, work some kind of concession there that would, make it easier for everybody to utilize that area.
So,
Over 14.
this gentleman came in asking me about how we could go about, getting him any type of road. Because the way the code reads, for him to develop in his lots, which are the 7, 8, 9, and 10, which he wants to build a home back there. But he can't build a home if he doesn't have emergency access to it. The easement is there for his property.
So he owns
But-
7, 8, 9, and 10.
Yes, he owns the 4 lots at the very end. So what happens is the way the code reads is he has to have a paved road to his property before he can develop it. So, but to ask an individual to pay for a road just to his house of that length, that's gonna cost him way too much. So there was the discussion of if we approved him to do a compact cageing. We allow emergency vehicles in our RV parks on 95% compact cageing roads. So if we built out a 95% compact cageing road, then he would have emergency vehicle access.
Because even ours out in the country is compactly.
The only thing he would have to do is dedicate a portion of his property at the end for some type of circle, hammerhead, or Y turnaround for the emergency vehicles. Because it is a flat dead
Yeah,
end,
like in
but
9,
there's nowhere.
where square 9 is. Or
Yes. So that's what I told him. He could do a hammerhead up into
Everything
9,
into
back
9,
down, and out.
and that would allow it to enter and exit.
Mhm.
You had to do that.
So I've also told him that there's possibility I could write for a grant to help him with this project. Because just even getting a company to come in and do a 95%
Gucci
compaction
Road is
on
gonna be.
this length of road is going to cost him quite a bit. Have you gotten any quotes yet? I know you were working on some of those, but you haven't gotten any.
Well, I've spoken to several, people that can do the job. The problem is getting a approved contract, you know, and I've gotten quotes like $28 a linear foot to $45 a linear foot. So, that's just for each there, you know, depending on the depth that is required. The good thing it'll be minimal because that's all hard surface. Plain road right there, but
Yeah.
at any rate, it's still gonna be something in that neighborhood. And, the problem, that I have run into is that we have to have a contractor. And, a lot of people can do the job, it's just that that's where we're at right now, but. I asked for this 10 years ago, and at that time, there was no option, just, paved road, curb, drainage, which was, at that time was like $4 or $5 million, okay? With enough developers, we're just landowners, but we have land we can't use because whatever approvals or designs or surveys happen before that, it deadlocked us in there and nobody wants to know. This is not a inclusive development area. This is, you know, double wides.
Yeah.
Maybe not luxury, but they're livable and they're very comfortable. And some people, that's what they want to afford. You know, that's what they want to spend. And since, all right, now it happens that maybe we could get approved for a dirt road. All right, let's try that. So we're trying to do some part of it. You know, the millions of dollars are not in our pocket.
Like
And
you said, maybe we can get a grant.
at one time, we had something in mind. We had already something in the record that we were going to do it, and then things happened. Money got dispersed, and then we shut it down. Everything. We're back at it again. Now there's got to be a way somewhere in this city that we can do something that can happen. I mean, they did all the other stuff. They can, you know, do somebody a favor. Those, all the three, double wides, they're facing 17th Street. So all the lots are going north and south. However, this one, are going east. Like what I understand is they could be facing either direction. So a dirt road or whatever it is, I believe it's doable. Just at the beginning, just a dirt road, let it settle. Later on, maybe they plan for some pavement. But, that's what we're asking. And I've spoken to the other landowners and, they want to see this happen. However, we want to know if we have to come up with some kind of money up front as landowners. And I believe, if we're willing to do a little bit of that, Stevie should be able to take care of the rest.
Okay. So let me make sure I understand this correctly. So are we trying to get access to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8? Or
Well, that I
7, 8, 9,
can,
and 10?
so 3 through 8, I cannot get access to because I don't own any properties out there to grant him an easement. That would be something on the property owner to make an arrangement with one of the properties to the south of him to get an easement through there. So that's where that one was that's all we can do at that point for that one. I can't allow him to put a mobile home until he has some type of access. And then we turn around and we're looking at this and another owner wants to build and I can't allow him until we get him some type of access. We have an easement existing for his at least.
The Harrison.
The Harrison is the existing easement. But our code requires that he does pavement, curb, sidewalk, and gutter. A single owner can't afford to do
I know that.
that. So that's where I'm wanting to know if we would be able to grant him.
Do you own 14?
Which
Which lots do you
He
own?
owns 7, 8, 9, and 10 of block 2. He owns those 4.
Okay.
Let me,
So he has access to his property.
this lady right here, this lady owns all these right here.
Okay.
He owns these 2 and these 2. I own these 2. I don't know who these 2 are. And then the gentleman here owns these 2. So, and this is Harrison, because Van Buren's down here.
Yeah.
And this is an alley as far as I know it.
Yes, it is. It is only an alley.
So,
And there is utilities in the alley.
and then why would you say no? We had to get permission from Van Buren or what to get it?
No, not Van Buren. From the lots, the 14 through 9 there in the center,
Oh,
he would, for the guy up at the very north,
Go in here.
he would have to purchase part of their property to have an easement.
these
Because yes, he has no legal easement to his property for emergency access.
See how they're deadlocked all the way around.
And then the owners were 3 and 8.
Oh, here, okay.
3 and 8.
So 3 through 8.
Oh, up here.
Yes, where they want to place them all. Yes.
Oh, they want to place, I just say, why does he need an easement here? But they want to put a mobile.
They want to put a mobile home up there. They have to have an easement
We got
from
we got
Harrison
2 requests.
to their property that is at least a 50 or 60 foot right of way.
And when you say that for him, does that mean on this side of Harrison also?
No,
Just on this side?
yes.
Okay, just so I'm clear on
And the land just to the north is private property,
Yes,
And he doesn't want
and
to.
he doesn't know.
well, he may not have an option. At some point, we may have to build a road there.
Okay, that's city easement.
No, to the north, right there where that line is, that is actually city limits. That to the north, we do not own. We could not do eminent domain. We could not take that property to the north.
But
it. Is that Williams that owns that you're talking about?
No, that's over further to the west.
So Roberts,
Yeah, Russell Roberts is.
Russell Roberts owns it.
Yeah, that's another thing I wanted to ask. We've always had a discrepancy about that on like 3, 4, where it says block 2,
Mhm.
that alley. I've had the city tell me no, but that alley, half of it's the city, the other half is like where 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8 are, is county.
No,
It's city.
that's all city limits.
Because when you went to go ask them to do something, no, they went to pay for it because it was in the county. You don't have the county, if you're on the city.
That's all
So
city.
that is the city.
Every bit of this, of the Colonial States edition is all in the city.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
All right, so let's break it down. What are we dealing with first?
Well, first we need to get Harrison, something done with Harrison. Will we allow just a 95% compact Cleachy road to be built? I mean, I have houses on Cleachy roads all over the place.
If it would sell a remedy for a moment until the city can maybe afford it.
And like I told you, me
to-
writing a grant, that takes 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, yeah, to get that road built from us, it'd take a while. So if
Well,
we could get that, so that they could put a Cleachy road there,
Mhm.
you know, all the owners could chip in to have that Cleachy road put in there that would suffice.
do we have to inspect it?
Yes.
Yeah, it'd have to be inspected and all that.
I didn't know.
But also a hammerhead would have to be put in on that.
That's what I did talk to them about, and he does own that in block, and he is willing to do the hammerhead.
That's a hammerhead circle.
No,
No,
just a
the
small
hammerhead is
area.
basically where it looks like the head of a hammer.
Yeah.
It goes up and back so they can go out.
Like a T.
So it's not a spinning circle.
Well, a circle would take up more of
Yeah.
block 8 and 9, and part of even 10 and 11. He would lose more property doing it that way. A hammerhead will take up less of his actual.
And then what you said, if we put each road in, they probably would have to carry the price cost.
Yes, because I mean, with getting a grant, I can't do that for 2 to 3 years.
Well, how much does it cost us as property owners?
Well, that's where we'd have to come up with some estimates. We'd have to get some estimates.
Oh.
Can we,
And I can reach out to our company and get some estimates.
let them go, I mean, to let them do the research for the.
Yeah. I guess.
So it's just us working it out right now.
Yes.
Ultimately, this isn't gonna be our decision. This is.
No, this is just a discussion item.
Okay.
If this is something we feel like we could approve and take to commission, then I will put it on the next
On the next
item
slide.
to approve a
I
Cleachy
think
Road for
we
this
need to-
Harrison development.
So could we ask them to research and find out how much it would cost?
I will do that.
Oh, you'll do that? Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So, I'm translating for the owners 3 through 8.
Mhm.
And their names are?
So, ¿cuál es su nombre, perdón? Gisela Calderón.
Wait a minute, you said 3 through what?
3 lots,
3
3
through
through
8.
8.
The ones
At
on
the
the
very
top,
top, the
Joe.
last one.
Oh, okay.
The ones that are landlocked.
Okay, go ahead.
So, the main question that she had in terms of the suggestion of purchasing one of the lots is what if the owners of those lots do not want to sell?
Then we're back to square one on that one.
Yeah, that can't be
Well,
managed.
that's where we come back to my question with the eminent domain. Why can't we?
So I would have to talk to our city attorney about that, because going through one of the other lots of the south, I would have to ask him if we could do eminent domain because of the landlocked.
Well, have you seen the shape of that lot? It shows like an easement and then it opens up.
Mhm.
I was able to pull it up on a different map, but
Mhm.
it looks like it is an easement.
It looks like it is.
Set up for.
But I searched the deed records to the property to the north, and it is not an easement. It is actually described in his legal property description. So it's not described as a right-of-way or access easement. It is just described as his property, so.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sure he wouldn't complain about a paved road right there.
My name is Presley Barbary. My husband and I, Zane Barbary, we own lots 1 and 2. We don't access our property from Harrison. So I don't feel like we should be involved in paying for the road. We never use that. We access from 17. There's no gate, there's nothing. I don't feel like we should be involved in that payment of that road.
Well, I don't disagree with you.
I want to ask you, if you got a.
Can you state your name? You never did, well ago.
Dennis Joe.
Okay.
Jonesy.
I'm 5 and 6.
Yes.
If you did get a grant and then it's okay for Felici,
She would go apply for a grant to do a blacktop road.
Yeah, all blacktop, and that's gonna raise our property taxes, isn't it? The blacktop. Now, all I have back there is just to be used for nothing else, kind of like that. I'm retired, I know you guys do this all the time, but I don't have any money coming in. I don't want my property, they're too high already for nothing out there. And I don't want to property taxes, that's what I'm afraid of, you guys are gonna go in there and curb and gutter it, and then all of a sudden, man, your property taxes go up twice. I don't want it. Now, dirt road maybe, if it comes up, but if dirt road affects our taxes.
No,
I don't think.
now Fleetwood roads don't, are not subject to your taxes.
Gee, okay, I'll go for a police, if you're gonna curb and gutter it or blacktop it, I'm not gonna.
So that part of the road will be black.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how much it decreases property taxes, but I know that because when my dad had his Leachy Road chipped off, the county chip sealed it in front of his house. His taxes did go up, not barely a little. He said it was not, and he's retired. Yes, ma'am, your name?
So, I'm the owner of 3 and 4. So if you put the Caliche Road, then we're allowed to put in a mobile home?
Yes, then you would have it, if they
Okay,
approve,
right?
if the city commission, so again, this is just discussion.
Yeah.
This is not an action item. So what we're doing is just discussing to see what our best options are and to kind of get all of you guys' opinion on what you want to see. This is your area. So if we wanted to go with just the Cleachy version and the homeowners, and maybe even when we go to commission, we could get commission to actually want to help with this cost. I can't speak for them on if they would or not, but then it would be approved to put in the Cleachy road. But it has to go through, so it would come to planning and zoning again, so they could approve it, and then it would go to city commission for approval.
And on the Caliche Road, yeah, we're helping with the Caliche Road.
I don't know if the city would be able to approve that or not. That would be up to the commission. Yes.
So if you got permission, put a police road in, said, don't even bring it, they put it in. Is that going to still come back on us now for it?
Yes.
And then over.
Well, unless the city commission says they're gonna be approved, and I can't speak.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And when we're on the other, like 8, 9, and 8,
Yes,
is that the alley through our, I heard it was 21st Street, is that?
it's listed 21st Street on like a Google map, but it is not legally a street.
It's not even an alley. legally.
It's only 20-foot easement, so
Okay, that's, yeah, there's easement there and that's all.
that's all.
Okay, so nothing to, yeah.
That is all that was for actually.
I'm glad to verify that.
My name is Sylvia, I own lot 16 through 11, and I have access to my place through 17.
Yeah.
I don't have access to Harrison Avenue, so I guess I would just be helping out as good as my heart. Because I'm in the city, bought the property, and they should not even been allowed my property, and now the city, nobody's let them help.
Yes,
And now I'm stuck with land.
that they can't put,
That they can't put a home.
and like I said, I know other people don't want to put a home back there, but there are several people that do.
Yeah, so I mean,
And you know, when that property is sold off, everybody goes, sooner or later, your kids don't want it, they sell it. The person who buys it is more than likely gonna want to put a home.
So I got a question real quick. So in order, moving back to the back lots, the very top of the screen.
Yes,
3, 4,
block
5,
one.
6, 7, and 8. What if part of 9 was used to get them up to that alleyway, and you made that a wider roadway, and then they would have access and be able to.
Yeah, that again, that would be between those property owners.
I understand. I'm just talking about
Mhm.
if you, that would be a feasible solution.
Anywhere he can get,
But they don't have to widen that 20-foot in front of their property like they do theirs.
well, the thing is once they get up to the property, if the home's not back here, they still have to have driveway for access. So
Why don't-
where the
that-
driveway is on the property.
But see, the one guy owns 7, 8, 9, and 10.
My
The
question
other
is-
was on 3 through 6.
Do they have to have a 50-foot wide road like Harrison up there at that 20-foot easement. In
No.
order to build, they just have to have a 50
They
foot
just
up
have to
to
have the
that
50
point.
up to the property.
So a truck could turn up there
Correct.
and get to that.
Correct.
Okay, just clarification for me.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter which one of those lots he purchased some easement
Whether
from.
it was on
to make that
14 or
correct.
9.
Are you supposed to use the alley as the main drive?
No.
No. That's what I'm saying, he would have to purchase some of that property.
These people are.
Oh, I know, all the time it happens. But alley is for access to a property
Into is if it's good enough for them, why isn't it good enough for them?
of what?
If it's good enough for these people to use that alley as a driveway.
Because they're only using, because you can use an alley to access your property at any point in time. You can use it daily to access your property. But emergency vehicles, I can't authorize a new construction of a new home or anything like that that requires emergency vehicles today. I cannot allow them to use an alley.
Yeah, it has to be able for a fire truck to get through it. And
Yeah.
Chelsea does.
And there's too many low lines, there's, alleys are not good for fire emergency vehicles.
So then how did this house get put on the Jones property?
Where at? Where's that? What
There's a
map
house
are you
right on
looking
the
at?
property.
Now you're pulling up a whole map. That is not a house, it is a storage building on 6. On 6 and 7, those are storage.
Oh, Jonesy has a big shop.
Oh, it's a big shop back there.
It's a big shop.
Oh, that's what this
It's not a
is.
house.
Yeah, it's not a house. It is a house. And it was permitted
It's
way
a-
before I got
It's a portable building.
Yeah.
It's not even a permanent fixture. It's a portable building.
Jonesy built that long time.
there. Yeah, it's been there a while.
Yeah.
It's still supposed to be
Nearly
permitted.
40 years.
But I didn't, no, even a,
Even a portable, yes.
see, I didn't know, I thought that's why I put a portable. I knew permanent fixtures has to be permanent.
Yeah, all structures in the city limits are supposed to be
All
permitted.
right, so we
That's
just need
why I
to,
did portable. My taxes.
go ahead and have Crystal, go ahead and investigate all this and see what we can do.
Okay,
And then bring it back to us or the commissioners, one of the two. Whichever one you think, however we can get it.
well,
Personally, I think there needs to be a street where Harrison is and a street to the north of 338. We need to find a way to make that up.
Did you say that again? I heard it.
So there needs to be a street put in where Harrison is, and there needs to be a street to the north, just like every other neighborhood in town.
so you're wanting full pavement curb.
Eventually, yes,
Okay,
it's part of the city. It's
But I
part of the
mean-
village.
that's what I'm saying. In years, I could write a grant to do that, but
But for
as of now,
temporary, we could do the
compactly.
compact leachy right
I
now.
agree, so maybe we should look into doing that compact beachy on the north side too.
Well, we can't touch the north side, it's out of the city limits.
We need to look into finding a way to do that.
Yeah, I'll look into it.
There's,
I'll talk to Patrick, but with it being outside the city limits, I know there's no way to file eminent domain or anything like that. Force him to do.
so that one little strip is county.
It is.
That 20
We need to annex it into the city.
You have to have the owner's permission there.
Danny owns a large.
You have to have 50% of the owners walk with
We
you.
can work something out.
Come visit with me.
Between the city, the county, and this owner.
We can open a discussion. And then
Yeah, go
maybe-
ahead and start.
It's just my opinion, it needs to be done right.
Yeah.
Do it right. And get it right.
County property from what trailer parks and everything with city water. So we gave in, so I can't, the county giving it back to us.
I agree. We tend to work well with the county.
It's not a county road.
No, there's not a road.
No, but it could be made. Anything can be made.
I don't think my commissioners will.
So,
Okay, is there anything else?
Anything else more on this one?
okay, tell them what you're gonna do, Chris. For Betty.
We're gonna have Crystal look into it, see if the city will help us figure out how to get Harrison dirt, not Leachy Road. And she's gonna try to help you figure out how to get roads up to the other sides, to the top up there. We're gonna try to figure out a way to get around up in there. And we'll go, she'll go, come back to us, or go to the commissioners, for them to decide. If it comes back to us, she'll send you out, they'll tell you we're having another meeting on it. If it goes to the city commissioners, you'll still send out notifications. So you'll know one way or the other which way it goes when she gets working on it a little more in depth. Does that work?
Yep.
Two action items, two non-action items, but we're essentially over this.
Yeah, same thing, so we dealt with both of them at the same time.
Okay,
Yep.
so I'm making a recommendation, we move on to
Action items.
810 North Commercial Hernandez Property Annex and Zone Change.
Okay, so, we have 810 North Commercial, the Hernandez property. They're going to annex in, the field behind. So right now, the area in red is actually in the city limits. And that is part of their property.
I thought it was in the county.
No, that is actually in city limits. He pays city taxes. It was in the city limits. And so what they're wanting to do, because they need assets and stuff to do their property and all this, with it being partly in the county, partly in the city, they're having trouble with all the paperwork, right? So he wants to go ahead and annex in the rest of their properties with the city limits. Why have half of your property in the city and part of it out? And when he does that, he wants to actually zone it as commercial.
It's right on commercial, isn't it?
But the red area is actually zoned as residential. So if you remember, this area right here, we changed that zone because it was residential. But for over 50 years, it's been commercial use. So we changed that zone. So now he's wanting to annex this as commercial and then turn around and do a zone change for this to be also commercial. He is also going to do a summary replat to separate the home here from this commercial activity, the home here that has access to Curry, and then the rest is to be left with one open lot.
Oh, you want to step up and talk?
So this is a slide of his divided properties.
Yes, my apologies for uniform, I get off at 4, so I didn't have time to go change, like I said, no.
Introduce yourself.
I'm Victor Hernandez, the son of Moses and Indy Hernandez.
I thought that looked like Moses' property. When I looked at it, I was like,
Can we write down so we can?
So, I mean, Ms. Crystal just explained it very clearly as what we're trying to do. I trying to get my dad's estate all together and cleaned up, that now that he's alive, it's a lot easier to do now that he's alive. And it was just a mess. As the previous slides, I'm trying to make this right and clean for everyone's sake. But that's exactly what we're asking.
do you really see a problem with it?
I do not see a problem in that.
Any else see a problem?
What's the staff recommendations? Because
The
there
staff
are.
recommendation is to approve the annexation with the zone change to commercial. Would be my, because it's all commercial north of that anyways, and to the west of it, it's all commercial. I mean, that spot right there is the only thing residential. But like say, the property, portion of their property to the north has been commercial use for years and years.
Yeah.
And that would be for tract A, B, C.
I think it makes it.
Let's make it simple.
I make the motion.
You make the motion?
I make the motion. One second.
I'll second it.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So that was the motion to approve.
Motion to approve, yes.
Thank you.
Motion to approve staff
I'm sorry.
recommendations.
I said your uniform, get it?
As Captain McCarr would say, make it so.
This is the way.
This is the way.
Okay, let's do the next one. I accept the motion. Is
Okay, I'll make a motion that we move to action item 819 South Fifth Street, the request for conditional approval for non-conforming structures.
Thank God.
And Yes, thank you. We have a motion and a second?
Yes.
Ready? Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Kevin, are you ready?
Sorry, I'm still translating for him. What just happened?
Give them just one more.
Okay.
The owners of 819 South Fifth Street have requested conditional for a conditional approval for a non-conforming structure. So what had happened is this lot had a home on it, an old mobile home. People purchased it, they separated the lot from the house to the north there, and the blue roof.
Okay.
They were all on one lot, both of them. So they did the correct thing, they got it replatted, they separated the lots, they got an easement to the back for the water and sewer lines, they placed a new mobile home on there. But this old carport and old fence have been there since 2009. They're in the city right away. They're actually beyond the property lines, the corner and the carport. So when they put the new mobile home in there, I discussed with them about, I knew they had just went through the cost of replatting, putting in the new utilities, because the utilities were disconnected from the house to the north. So they had to put in all new lines, and they had to go clear to the back of the property where they got an easement from that owner to the north. So their water and sewer lines have to run all the way to the back and then all the way up to the alley. And, so they had already burdened all this cost, so it wasn't gonna make them tear down more right away. And then I told them, actually, with the dates that was built, we do have the non-conforming ordinance. Where if it was built before 2014, before February of 2014, we can give them a non-conforming approval as long as there is not a health hazard or a safety issue with the structure.
Did you find any?
I have not found any. The old carport is cinder block, it doesn't have cracks, it doesn't look bad. If you wanted me to have them get a state inspector go by and give a look at it, or if the state inspector wants them to get a new permit on it, they would be willing to do that. But the fence, there was an old chain link fence and they just replaced it with a very nice wooden fence. They didn't know that they couldn't go back into that same fence location. So we do have the pictures of the new fence and the new mobile home on the lot. So there you can see the mobile home. The white part of the fence is the portion that's been there. And then the wood is what they added to make it look good. And then this is the side where the carport is, where it's still only the chain link fence and the carport in the east. So yeah.
How far is that into the article?
Okay, so we have the measurements.
I never seen on the table.
I have the site plan right here. Okay, so the carport is 13 foot from the back of the curb to the front of the carport. And so it is 9 foot encroach into the city right of way. The fence on the Avenue H side, because this is actually, the carport's on Fifth Street.
Not H.
The house is on the corner of H and Fifth. So then on H Street, the fence is 10 foot from the back of the curb, which makes it 15 foot over the property line. It's a lot. It's over the property line a lot. This side is, like I said, over the property line. On this carport side is only 9. But if you go back to the fence side where the white and wood fence is on Avenue H, this first picture here, you have the 10 foot, but then the corner marker for this property is right up in this driveway, right past this block wall. About 5 foot past that block wall. Were you able to pull up the site plan that we have? It shows those measurements where it needs in the easement.
Yeah.
You see that?
I'm still downloading.
I'm so sorry. You can't go into it and just click on it and get it?
Well, do we have any
It's still.
do we have any plans on widening H in the future?
Huh?
Is there any plans for widening H in the future?
No.
It's not one of our main thoroughfares?
No, it is an arterial street.
Okay, so we don't have.
The only thing I would ever go in and do is put new sidewalks, and that only requires 5 foot.
So that would be suffice.
Yeah.
On both sides, I would have ample room to do.
I was looking at the picture of the carport, it doesn't look.
And see, on our non-conforming, so on our non-conforming, there is always that clause that if we need to widen to do infrastructure improvements or utility improvements, they at that time must remove the encroachment.
But what,
That's always in our
they're
non-conforming.
the ones that have this problem?
Yes,
Are these individuals here?
Are they,
yes, these are the,
are they
Would
willing
you
to
like to
do
come
the?
up and speak to them?
the son is the translator.
Okay,
That's fine.
good deal.
Can we?
Is
We have to go on.
and all I want to say is that we already bought the property, and that's been there for years. So it would be a lot of cost for us to get all that removed because it's cement block.
Yeah.
And all that we wasted a lot of putting utilities in. And you can see on the picture before, it was a mess in there. It was a total mess.
They really look, it looks really nice.
Yeah.
The pictures are
Crystal,
like.
what is your staff recommendations on this?
My staff recommendation is to approve the non-conforming.
Like, well, if
With
we do.
the condition of if we need that area for infrastructure.
So your parents
And
understand
if
this.
they decide to renovate as far as with the carport, they bring.
They
it
would have to
into-
bring up they would have to re-permit to do
Right.
any additions to any.
Right,
Yes.
so I don't know if that needs to be put in there also, that they understand that.
I think the way when those,
Do you guys understand that? If you tear down that carport and you go to rebuild it, or if you start to remodel, you will have to bring it up to code.
Yeah,
Same with the fence.
Right, yeah.
okay.
So
Is that anything in there that if there's any modifications or updates, it must be then be brought up to code. That is usually that saying.
I just wanted to make sure that they understood that.
I thought that's in our non-conforming.
they've already got a raw deal on a lot of it, so we don't want to.
No, you tell them today, and then tomorrow it's like, I never understood, I never heard that.
Yeah, and that's why Kevin's explaining it to
Yes.
me now.
Yes, I appreciate that.
So, let's go make the
We'll make the
recommendation.
improvement off of staff recommendations.
Brad,
Okay, I'll make a motion that we go with staff recommendations to approve the non-conformance.
structure.
So non-conformings do not have to go on to city commission.
No.
You guys are allowed to approve it. So I will have that resolution typed up tomorrow, Betty. If you
Okay.
can come by.
I'll come by Lawrence.
Do we attach that to the deed or anything like that?
It actually is filed at the house. We file it at the
Okay, so you understand what's taking place?
Yeah, but I also wanted to add that we're not the only ones out of our property line. There's a lot of people.
We're saying it's okay. What you got, we're not asking you to move. But but the thing is that if something happens, then you have to bring it back into conforming. But it's also going to be attached to your legal papers so that if you decide to sell it in the future, it's
They
known.
can't use.
Okay, it's a known problem. We're making, this variance is for you at this time, as long as you own the property. Okay, so we're not asking you to bear any more burden. We're just telling you what's going to happen so that you know if you decide to sell it, what the other people can expect.
Yeah, I don't know if I would sell. I'm like, if
Put a lot into it.
I'm like $300,000 phone, I don't think I'm gonna get it.
No, it's just so everything's clear.
And yes, we understand that there's many properties that are out of the
Whack.
same ordinance, and we're working,
Yeah.
that's our
We're
job.
on as much as we can.
But we
We're
don't
trying
do
to
it
get
one at a
everything
time.
back.
We just can't bring everybody in at once.
Yeah.
Just one by one, it'll get taken care of.
No, but now everything's legal and legit, okay? So if anybody says anything, you say, we're legal and legit. How about you?
Okay, I'll accept the motion if we adjourn this meeting.